Here from the Magic Junk Drawer. So I know that I did a video yesterday about this, but I accidentally deleted it, and I have a couple of viewers that had questions that I think this type of video will help them with. So I wanted to just readdress this stuff. So it was about how I manifested my dream job. So I have to tell you that my entire life, I always felt like I was the result of somebody else's decision. Like I never really felt like I was in control. I felt like I was kind of like bumper cars and I landed where somebody else pushed me. So it was not something that I did consciously. You know, it was kind of like something that I just threw it out into the universe. So what happened was, I'd been working at A&P for probably about 9 years when I got my full-time job. And when I got that job, it was working in an office where I was able to get dressed up and I was able to drink coffee at my desk and I was able to go to the bathroom whenever I wanted. And working at A&P, you just don't have those luxuries. You know, sometimes you really have to learn how to hold it because you just can't get to the bathroom. So I really loved that job when I first got it, but it didn't take me long to get very bored with it. And the pay in comparison to what I was making at A&P, when I first got hired, I was literally hired at 5 cents an hour more than I was making part-time at A&P. So it was not, you know, it wasn't like I was making a ton of money. And then what I found is that after I got my first, it was probably my second year that I was there, I'm thinking, because my brother was still living with me. So I guess it was probably the second year that I was working there. I went for my review, and the vice president said to me, well, we can't give you a raise for working here, you know, a year later doing the same job that you did previously. So you're gonna, you know, you're just like, basically he told me I didn't deserve a raise, which was, I mean, so like demeaning. Like, I'm here every day. I like, isn't my, I mean, how are you going to tell me that I'm not worth anything? And I said to him, I'm like, and then he asked me, which was none of his business, how much I was making at A&P, and I don't remember what I was making at the time, but I remember his answer to me was, well, we're beating them by 25 cents an hour. And I was like, yeah, and that's a part-time job. So really demeaning, okay? But I was young. I was like in my very early 20s and I didn't know any better. Like today, I feel like if somebody said that to me, I would tell them where to get off. And then I would probably place their name in the bottom of this jar with a lot of tacks and rusty nails and see what happens. But back then, you know, back then I was just like grateful that they hired me. All right, so he what he said to me was that he wanted me to take a course in accounting, and if I passed the course, I would get a raise. Well, and once again, if somebody said this to me today, I have plenty of jars, believe me. They're all waiting. He wanted me to take a course, and if I passed it, I would be reimbursed by the company, and I would get a raise. So, you know, I was working full time and I was working part time. So for me to take this course, I had to leave work an hour early. It was on Tuesday night. I had to take off of the A&P, so I lost money there. I wound up having to take whatever the course was. It was like I went into the college as a non-matriculated student. I had to take this course and a lab, so I was there from like 4:30 in the afternoon to like 8:30. And then there was like projects I had to do with groups of people, and it was just, you know, it was bullshit. So I finished the course and I got the highest grade in the class, which was a 93. And I went back and I submitted everything and they reimbursed me. But meanwhile, for the 3 months or the 6 months or whatever it was, this fee of $4,000 or whatever it cost me was sitting on my credit card. And I got a 93. I could have got a 65 and I would have gotten the same raise. And it was just not appreciated. It was like such a waste of time, and what a kick in the ass. Like, here I am, a working person working 2 jobs, and you're making me waste my time, take this class that not only did it not apply to my job, but I worked there for 14 years, and I never needed to ever do what I learned in that accounting class, because that accounting class was like accounting 101, which was all like physical ledgers and pencil, where we were on a computer that did it. So everything that I did, all the entries that were being made automatically by the computer. So it was just like I said, a real scam, and very disheartening to look back on that. So anyway, so I was pretty miserable with these two jobs because I was working constantly. I mean, would go months and months without having a day off. If it was snowing and the office was closed, I worked at A&P. I mean, I was just constantly working. And it's not that I don't like to work. I do like to work. I like to stay productive, and I can be very lazy if I'm given a lot of time where I don't have to do anything. So I appreciate the work, but it was very unrewarding. Like, I wasn't, it was not like I was socking away millions of dollars. I was just basically getting by. So I had gone to meet two friends for dinner in a town that is in New Jersey. And I'm on the border of New Jersey, kind of. So it's probably about a half hour or 40 minutes away from here. And we had dinner, and my one friend said to me, there's a yoga studio right over here. Like, it was like literally across the street. Why don't we go check it out? So it was closed, but they at the time had like a printed schedule, and it was outside where you could take a schedule. So I took the schedule and I looked at it, and I was like, you know what? I just can't fit this into my time, and it's into my schedule, and it's too far away from me. And I said to him, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and this was probably, years and years ago. I was like, I'm going to get there one day. This is what I'm going to do. I'm gonna teach yoga. They knew that I liked regular yoga. I had never tried hot yoga before. I knew that I would like hot yoga just because I know myself, but it was something that I just couldn't get to it. Like, it just wasn't gonna work at that moment. So a couple of years later, a hot yoga studio near my town opens up, and I went there with one of my friends that I worked with in my day job, and we took hot yoga for the first time together. And it's so funny because I remember like it was yesterday. First of all, he's not a big water drinker, so he was half dehydrated when we left. Like, he didn't know where he was. He didn't know where his car was. He was like, didn't know his name. Like, maybe you should drink a little bit more water before you do these things. But anyhow, so I enjoyed going, and even like with my anxiety, I didn't want to go alone. I wanted him to come with me. And if he couldn't come, I would ask like the kids from the A&P to come with me, because I just like social anxiety. Walking in the place gave me panic attack. But I knew that I had to get over it. I knew that I couldn't rely on everybody else, and that I was going to have to just go myself. And I would look around the place, and I'm like, nobody comes here with an escort. Everybody comes here alone. You're a big girl, go to yoga. So I started going to this place regularly, and I paid monthly, and I could go unlimited as much as I wanted. And that's what I did. And I became very friendly with like the teachers and some of the students that were there. And what happened was, like, remember how I said, even with the tarot readings, it's never a direct route. There's always like ups and downs, valleys and hills and everything else. So one Friday, I used to go and I used to take this girl's class 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I would go right to work. And the night before, the guy that I had been seeing, he was this big, huge guy, and he pulled his back out, and I couldn't get him in my house because of the stairs. Like, there was no way we were getting him up the stairs. So I stayed with him at like this motel, like a kind of like a creepy motel, around the corner from here. But it was close enough where I could come home, walk the dog, and then go back to make sure that he was okay. So what happened was, the next morning I planned to go to yoga, and it was closed. And like, I just remember, I was like, oh, it's funny, the class is canceled. So it was like not an issue that I had to get him to wherever he had to go. So he was like, he was better in the morning. But anyway, so then on like their Facebook page that day, like there was like the class is canceled, or we're going to be temporarily closed due to upgrades and construction. And then the teachers started commenting about how that wasn't true. And it was just like a lot of drama, which I don't like. And I was like, oh my God, something's happening to my yoga place just when I started to feel comfortable. So they closed. So it was pretty devastating when they closed, because I really thought, like, this is my place, and now what? Well, some of the students that had been going to that place went over to the other place by the restaurant in the other town and told the owners. They were, told them what happened, and then these owners went to look at the space, and then they decided to reopen it, and it wasn't long. It was like, that was October, and then they were open in December. So it was only a couple of months. And I went there the first night they opened. I waited outside for them to unlock the door, and it was me and 2 other students that were there for the first night. It was like the unofficial opening. And I was so excited that they opened, because the New Jersey studio, still with my schedule, was too far for me. So I was going to the place by my house, and that was in December, and in March they offered their first teacher training. So I did it. I did the teacher training, and the rest is history. But it was the idea that I had put it out into the universe that night. I'm going to do this. Let me get him some peanut butter. Hang on. Come here, Dylan. So it was the idea that I put it out into the universe, and I didn't dwell on it. I didn't have a plan on how I was going to get there. I was just going to get there, and it was just going to happen for me. And that was the idea that I had in my head, and I don't even think I believed it. It was just what I said, and then how everything fell into place. Now, the way that I wound up getting my classes and how that moved forward was, the person that trained me, right? I did a lot of training with the same person. She needed some time off, and they needed someone to cover her classes. And because I was, always taking her classes, they felt that I would be able to step in for her while she was gone. So that's how that happened. So it was more of like, just like the way they say with the law of attraction, you don't need to know how. Oh, sorry. You don't always need to know the how. You just need to know that it will happen. So very interesting. And that wasn't even something that I even thought about until recently, when somebody else was talking about their job and how they wound up creating their job. Because a lot of us, I'm going to say it's probably more common than not, that people are not happy with their job. They're not happy with their circumstances, but they just don't know how to change it. Like years ago, I had a friend that I worked with at the office, and she said that every Sunday night she had a pit in her stomach because she didn't want to go to work on Monday. I mean, that's no way to live. Especially, they say that life is short, but you just never know what's coming tomorrow. I mean, my mom was very young when she died. And, like, if you got to spend, like, she didn't retire, so if she didn't like what she did for a living, she would have spent most of her life miserable. I mean, it is what it is. Like, you spend most of your time doing these things. Okay, so how do you do this? You figure out what it is that you want. Now, for me, I love teaching yoga, and what I love about it is that my schedule is always different. Like Tuesdays, I normally have the job at the school today, but today it was canceled for whatever reason. But every day is different. Like Monday, I have class in the morning. I'm free in the afternoon. I go back at night. Tuesday is my day off of teaching. Unless somebody needs me to sub, I will always sub. If somebody calls me and they need a sub, I will always do it, as long as it doesn't, conflict with something else. But I love the flexibility in it. I hate schedules. I hate, I have to be here from 9 o'clock to 5:30, and then I have to go to the A&P from 6 to 10 or 6 to 11, and there's no room to breathe. There's no room to like go to the post office or, do anything. Like, you're just constantly working. Now it's like, I ran to Stop and Shop today in the middle of the afternoon. I never would have been able to do that years ago. So I love the flexibility of it. I don't mind working on the weekends. I've never had weekends off because I was in the grocery store life my whole life. So you have to work on the weekends. So how do you do this? Figure out what it is that you want and you just put it out there. I intend to be a yoga instructor. I intend to teach yoga. I intend to teach philosophy. I intend to teach meditation, whatever it is. And you just know that one way or another, you're going to get there. And you put yourself in the arena where it will happen. Like, obviously, you have to go to yoga if you're going to be a yoga teacher. You have to do those things. You have to take these steps. But you don't have to always know when, how, or why. Now, here's another interesting fact, and I'm sure that I've mentioned this before. When I have gone on physical auditions to audition for a job, I don't think I've ever got one. And it's not because I'm not a good teacher. And I mean, like, there could be a million reasons why, but think about it now. I fell into this because I wasn't thinking about it. The anxiety that I get from auditioning and being up against other people, that anxiety and the thoughts in my head of who's better than me, how long have they been teaching, are they friends with this place, do they come to this place? Like, a lot of times the studio, I think, would rather hire someone that practices there because other people know them than somebody just willy-nilly off the street out of nowhere. That's just my opinion. No one's ever said that to me, but I'm just thinking, well, you know, if you know the person, you're more likely to take their class. So think about it. When I set out, right, what was going on in my mind? Is it too far away from me? Maybe they're not going to like me. Maybe this, maybe that. So all of these doubts went out and it didn't happen for me. And let me tell you something. As the way life is, I mean, I know that I've auditioned for people that are auditioning me that don't have the training that I have and they don't have the years of experience that I have, and they're judging me. And I'm not saying that they can't, that they can't judge me. They can, of course they can. But what I'm saying is that sometimes you're like, this is a brand new teacher and they're critiquing me. So it's not necessarily about who's better educated or who has more experience. Sometimes it's really just about the person that thinks that they deserve the job and thinks that they will get it. So I went on one audition where, you know, like, we're all there. We're all in the audition class. And most of the people, like, I couldn't even believe that they were teachers with the things that they were doing. I was like appalled. I was like one girl, she said something about, well, we're going to do something different on the right side, and we'll do something different on the left because we don't have to do the same thing. I mean, really? You want to stay balanced? You know, that's like going to the gym and working out your right arm but not working out your left. Why would you do that? So very, very strange. But yoga is a strange business. But that's that's besides the point. The point is that we tend to be our own worst enemies, and we tend to always be thinking that somebody else is better or somebody else is going to do it better. And when I have found myself in a situation where somebody could be better, I always put that out there, and they always were. When I was in a situation where I could just fall into it, I fell into it because I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't actively thinking about it. So it's very interesting. Now, this also works with people, with specific persons. Like, I've had a lot of clients, right? We'll do a reading. Now, let me tell you something about readings. They're a great snapshot of what's happening right now. It doesn't mean you can't change it. You can change anything. You have to put your mind to it. You have to see yourself as being number one, or being the best suited for this person, or seeing this person as wanting to be with you, and then you have to really believe it. So when it comes to like a specific person or a specific job, you imagine yourself, the best time to do this is right before you fall asleep at night. Imagine yourself at the job. Imagine yourself with the person. Like imagine, when I say imagine, make it as real as you can. So I use this example in yoga all the time of a candle, because you can connect to the candle, right? So with a candle, if you close your eyes and you imagine a candle, now you can see the flame, you can hear the flame, you can smell the candle. You can really connect to this image of the candle. Whereas if I just say, picture a heart. All right, you could see the heart, but that's it. Okay, when your mind wanders away from the heart, you just bring it back to the heart. Okay, but it's like an image of like a heart. Like, all right. But when it comes to a candle, there's a lot of different ways that you can connect to it. So connect with your imagination with these scenes as best you can. So if it's a job, right? Like for me, I could, in my mind's eye, see the class in front of me, right? In my mind's eye, I can smell the incense. In my mind's eye, I can hear the sound of people breathing, right? So you connect with your image as best you can with all of your senses. You may be able to smell the scent of somebody's deodorant, or maybe you can smell the smell of the plastic mat. You know, the mats have like a rubbery smell. Like there are a lot of ways that you can connect. Now with a person, like a specific person, like say you just had a tarot reading and somebody told you, oh, I see that you're going to be with a Leo and you're really into a Libra. See yourself with the Libra. See the person. Look into their eyes. In your mind's eye, look at their eyes. What color are they? Do they have flecks in them? Are they big, small, close together, far apart? Notice their hair. Do they have freckles? Do they have a dimple? You can bring back an ex, definitely. Yes, this is what you do. You connect to this person and you use those images. So you look at in your mind's eye, you see the person's face, right? You look at their eyes, you look at their nose. Notice, I always say to people, take notice of anything that is distinguishing. So if this person had like a birthmark or a tattoo or a scar, notice it. In your mind's eye, look at it. But you always look at it from the first person, not the third person. So for example, if I was looking at my yoga class, I wouldn't be looking at myself. I would be looking at the people, right? And I would say, oh, look, Jen is here and she's got brown hair and brown eyes. And George is here and he's got blonde hair and green eyes. And his mat is orange and her mat is got flowers on it. I would connect like that in my mind's eye as best you can. You can do it with anyone. And it's so funny because I did this meditation once and somebody imagined somebody that they didn't want to see. And he was like, now I'm going to run into her. And I'm like, well, what did you do that for? I'm like, now it's going to be my fault when you run into her. But you want to connect with whoever this is, or whatever the situation is, or whatever the job is, with your five senses as best you can. And right before you fall asleep at night is the best time to do it. And you like take notice of things like that might be special about the person. Like if your ex had like blonde streaks in their hair, or they had like I have these weird bumps on the back of my arm. Like not everybody has that. You know, you could maybe, if you were thinking about me, I would feel the bumps on the back of my arm. Take notice of my tattoos. I've got James Bay, I have Dice here. Like in your mind's eye, see it. So if your ex has a tattoo of a rose on her back, in your mind's eye, see the rose. If she wore a specific piece of jewelry, a skull necklace, a crystal ring, whatever it is, you take notice of that. And then you can really get down to like hearing a conversation. Like you can hear somebody's voice in your mind's eye. Like you know what that sounds like, what their voice sounds like. Listen to their voice, hear what they're saying. Maybe they're telling you something. Maybe they're telling you that they're sorry for what they did, or that it's good to see you. Whatever it is, it's perfect. You just have to remember to do it, and you have to believe that it's possible. That is the whole thing. And I think that in my life, looking back, that's where I always went wrong. I always felt like it couldn't happen for me, but it could happen for everyone else. I don't know why I felt like that, but I did. And I even remember like years ago when cell phones really became popular and people first started texting, I remember having issues with the guy that I was seeing, and he and I had been off again, on again for years. And I remember being with my other friends, and like they would get a text message from their guy, and I wouldn't get one. And I always was like, well, how come it could work for them and it can't work for me? How come he calls her and mine's not calling me? So I always had that sort of victim like mentality. Well, that would never work for me. Time and space doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because like like this is a spiritual thing. When two people are supposed to be together, nothing can keep them apart. Nothing can keep them apart, and you need to believe that yourself. Um, like it's the most common thing. Like if James Bay, I love him, but if you listen to him tell a story about the song Scars that he wrote about somebody who left and went on the other side of the world, but then she came back. So it can happen. It's like time and space. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter where in the world they are. You can still get the person back. And as far as hexing and any of that crap is concerned, you have to believe that what you can do is stronger than that hex. And that took me a long time, because I always thought the same thing. Well, they're wishing bad on me. They're wishing the evil eye on me. They're this, that, the next thing. And I'm not as powerful as them. No, you're more powerful. So you think of it like that. You're more powerful, and all you need to do is believe that. You can use black candles. You can use white candles. I would use black, because I feel like black is stronger with repelling negativity and absorbing negativity. So if you feel like that's what you're suffering from, I would use a black candle, and every time you light that candle, say your wish like it's already happened. Like, wish is kind of a bad word. Like you say something like, I'm so grateful that we're back together, or I'm so grateful that now we have communication. Like there are different theories. Like some people think that you just need to focus on your final outcome. Like the final outcome of being back together with this person. I feel in order to make it a little bit more believable for me, I would need to do like little steps. So focus on communication, focusing on seeing this person, focusing on them being near you. Like focus on little things first, because it makes it a little bit more believable. Like in my opinion, if you can have the faith that this person can come back, if you just focus on the end, then you can focus on the end. I think everybody is different, and you really have to figure out what works for you. But you have to believe for yourself that no matter what you do, you're stronger than anybody else. Nobody else has the control to wish you bad or put a hex on you or anybody else that you can't reverse. And that's a huge thing, because I struggled with that. And then I used to go to like psychics and fortune tellers that used to tell me that I had hexes. So all that did was reaffirm them. So now somebody's telling me that I'm hexed, and I'm believing it, and it's going on and on and on, and it's not true. So you just believe in your heart, in your mind, in your soul that this hex is done. You light a white candle, light a black candle. You can, I mean, I happen to like candles. I feel like it's a great way to channel your energy. It's something in front of you, something that you can look at, and something that you can sit with, that you can sit and focus on. And it's all about focus. You don't have to do these things. Like, you don't have to light candles. You don't have to do love jars or honey jars. I do them because I enjoy it. And I also feel like it's a way for me to channel what I'm thinking into something physical. And then you have something physical. It's the same thing with crystals. If you take this crystal, if you believe that this crystal, right, every time you hold it, you say, I am so grateful that I am back with so-and-so. I am so grateful. Then every time you see it, your subconscious mind does not know fact from fiction. So your subconscious mind will believe it, and you will start to believe it, and then you'll start to put that out into the universe, because that's the way it works. And if you don't believe that it works, look back on all the crap that you put yourself through. Look back on it, because I've done it. I've done it. I have done so many crappy things to myself with my own mind and with my own thoughts. Why? Why did I choose to believe that? And then when it happened, I would be devastated. I would be devastated, but I had no idea that I was doing it to myself. You know, it's really very interesting. Very interesting. But I watched recently a video that Veronica Isles put about a concert that she wanted to go to years ago, and she said that she was in her 20s, and like she was probably a little bit more I guess life was maybe a little bit easier for her to just get up and go. Oh, no, good. I'm glad. I hope that I help you. Thank you for watching. But anyway, Veronica was saying that there was a concert she wanted to go to, and it was like really far away, and she didn't have a ticket. But she just didn't focus on that. She focused on going and getting a ticket and being there. And as it turned out, she wound up. It's a great story. And maybe if I'm going to go see if I can find the video, and I'll put it in my description so that you guys can watch it, because it's an excellent story. And the way she tells it is really great about how she wound up getting a ticket. And the whole story, you know, it's also another great example of how it's not always just a direct road. Like sometimes you have to go this way and you have to go that way, and before you know it, you end up where you're supposed to be at the time you should be there. So I'll find her video about that concert, and I'll put it in the description box so you guys can watch it, because I think that it's inspiring to hear that somebody else did this, and it was such a long shot. So another thing I wanted to talk about was judgment, right? Like people, it's so funny. They're like, well, I don't want to judge. I don't want to judge. Like judge, that word has become like the worst word that you can say. But let me tell you something. We're constantly judging, right? I mean, people judge me. They give me a thumbs up or they give me a thumbs down, or they make a nasty comment about me. I mean, people are constantly judging each other. But let me tell you something about judgment. We're animals, right? So we have to know how to survive. And us judging situations is how we stay alive. Like, for example, say you're, I don't know, waiting at a bus stop and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and a guy with a cloak and a sickle shows up. I mean, do you get the hell out of there or do you hang out? No, you get out of there, right? Because you're like, this guy looks like the Grim Reaper. I'm out here. Like, it's judging. So I remember years ago being in a sweat lodge. And if you've ever done a sweat lodge, they're intense. This was in Arizona, and you go underneath like a tent that's covered with animal skins, and they light like these hot coals in the center, and the tent, I don't know what the degree it goes up to, but when you leave the tent, you feel like it's cold outside, and it's Arizona, and it's 105 degrees outside. So that's just how hot it gets in the sweat lodge. But you sweat out all this stuff, and they say that some people hallucinate. I didn't want to, but I mean, it wasn't, you know, that kind of an experience. But we were talking about, somebody said, well, I feel like I'm judging. And another girl said, well, maybe you're not judging, maybe you're just observing. And I was like, all right, listen, whatever word we use, it means the same thing. So you're judging, you have every right to judge. Like, let's say, for example, you know, like you see somebody stealing something and you're like, I think that person's stealing. Are you judging? Yeah. But you need to judge to survive. Anyway, where was I going with this? I had a point. I had a point. Oh, judging the situations. Okay. So you have to judge your situation, but you have to know that you're going to be able to change it. Anything can be changed. And anything can be changed, and everything can be changed. So don't feel like you're stuck in some situation and there's no way out. Like you're stuck with this Leo, and that's what's coming up in the card reading, and there's no chance for you to end up with your Capricorn, because that's not true. You have to focus on what you want and ignore what you don't. So I said this to somebody the other day. I'm like, ignore the Capricorn or whatever he was. And I'm like, but I don't mean ignore him in person. I mean, ignore your thoughts about him. So if somebody is constantly on your mind and you're like, you know, like you're trying to avoid this person and they're always on your mind, the more you think about them, the more you're going to run into them and the more they're going to be an issue for you. So let's say that somebody is interested in you and you're not interested in them. I'm not mean. I would not tell you to ignore them in real life, but in your mind. So if you hear them in your mind saying things, or you're like, it comes up, stop thinking about them. Do something else. Like, wind up, go out with somebody else. Do something different. Get your mind off of this person, because the more attention you give to them, the more they're going to stick around. What you can also do is you can take this person in your mind's eye and you can see them with somebody else. You can also say in your mind's eye to them, hey, I'm so happy that you met so-and-so. You guys are perfect for each other. I'm glad that you found someone that you're compatible with, so that this person maybe comes in contact with somebody else that they like better, and then they wind up leaving you alone. That's something I always had trouble with. I was never mean. Like, I would never want to tell somebody that I wasn't into them, and then I would have like a perpetual person calling me 50,000 times, and I just didn't want to be bothered. Quiet. And that's not nice, but like, you have to do what makes you happy. So think of it like this. If you have control of everything, imagine that life was a video game. And look, because life is like a video game. So you are putting the people in power that you choose to be in power. So if you choose to be the boss, you're the boss. If you decide that this person is going to be your life partner, this person will be. This person is going to be your partner in business, this person will be. This person thinks that you're the best thing since sliced bread, then that's what they're going to believe. And if you don't believe it, look back on your life and think of all the situations, look at the situations that you've created and see if there is something to what I'm saying, because I never believed it for the positive things for me, because I don't think I knew how to cultivate them. So I didn't have much positive things going for me. I had a lot of negative things happening for me. I had a lot of situations happening that I didn't want, Like, I dated this guy years ago who was significantly younger than me. And I think that when you date someone younger than you, you kind of have to understand that they're going to be a little bit immature as opposed to you, because of the age difference. And I really believe age is just a number. I don't think that it wasn't the age thing why we're not together or why it didn't work out. But I remember always having a feeling that he was going to say to me one day, look, I just don't want to talk to you anymore. And I got that text message one day. Look, I just don't want to talk to you right now. I'll contact you when I'm ready. And I was devastated. But it was somewhere, I don't know if it was my intuition or I don't know what it was, but I didn't believe him. And I knew that I would hear from him eventually. And a couple of months went by and he reached out to me. But at that moment, it was so devastating. But it's not even just that. I knew it was going to happen because I thought about it. So it was like, oh, very interesting that happened. Well, really interesting, Danny, when that's all you used to think about is how he was going to tell you he didn't want to hang out with you anymore. He didn't want to hear from you anymore. I mean, how stupid is that? But, and why do I focus on that? Why didn't I focus on him thinking that I was the best thing ever? Why did I focus on him not wanting to talk to me anymore? I mean, that's stupid, but that's what I did. I don't know why. And talking to people with the tarot cards and talking to people just in regular everyday life, it seems like we're all doing this. I think that it's a means of survival. Like, that's how, like I said, we're animals and we need to survive. So we're kind of weighing all the situations and thinking of all the possible things so that we can avoid the bad situations. And unfortunately, we're calling all these bad situations into us. So how do you combat that? Every time you have a negative thought, you have to stop it and flip it around. I don't care how foreign it might feel or how unbelievable it might feel. I think a lot of it too comes with aging and getting older. You start to have a little bit more confidence in yourself and you become a little bit more comfortable in your own skin. But if you think to yourself, like, he's going to tell me that he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Well, then you flip it around and you say, you know what? The next text message I get from him, he's going to say how grateful he is that I'm part of his life. And that's where you leave it. So now you have another negative thought. oh, maybe he just doesn't like me anymore. Nope, he thinks I'm the best person ever. He's never met anybody like me before. And then that's where you leave it. Go do something else. Because it's the constant thinking and putting out there all of this negativity and this, and I have done it. So I know exactly what it's all about. And I haven't just done it in one area of my life, I've done it in all of my areas of life. Even with my weight, right? I would eat something really bad and I would say, oh, I'm going to get fat. Oh, look at me, I'm going to get fat. Oh, I'm eating this. But there are plenty of people that eat whatever they want and they don't get fat. But there I am chanting it, telling people, hey, look at me. I'm eating red velvet cake. I'm going to get fat. And then my pants don't fit. And I'm like, hey, how come my pants don't fit? I know, brilliant. But, you know, there's no reason why you can't have a piece of red velvet cake every now and again and not get fat. I mean, I've also fluctuated. My weight has gone up and down my whole life. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was called to my attention at a very young age that I had to watch my weight. And it was something I always focused on. And it's something that I still focus on today. So it's not something that is out of the ordinary. I mean, I remember being in third grade, and bringing a salad to lunch and telling everyone I was on a diet. Third grade. When I was in third grade, in November of third grade, I was sick. I was in the hospital. I came out of the hospital. I weighed 53 pounds. So I can't imagine that at any other point in third grade I needed to be put on a diet. I put myself on a diet because I heard somebody say something, or who the hell knows why. But the point is that you start at that young age and now it's with you your whole life. So it's very interesting. Watch what you're putting out there into the universe, because it's going to show up. It's going to get reflected back to you. You could just as easily turn around and say, you know, I can eat whatever I want and I never gain an ounce. I know people like that. I know plenty of people like that. They eat whatever they want. They don't ever gain weight. Why? Because it's not something that they think about. It's not something that they obsess about. You know, I'm one of these people that if I'm on a tear and I've really fallen off my diet, then I'll eat anything that's not nailed down. Other people aren't like that because they don't have this constant thing in their head that I have had in my head. Because it's been programmed in me since I was little. I mean, I told the story. I went to Weight Watchers the first time. I was 13. I weighed in 121 pounds. 121 pounds. Does that need Weight Watchers? I mean, really? I mean, but my mother sent me to Weight Watchers because she thought I was getting chubby and she wanted me to learn how to eat. And it has been something that I've never let it out of my mind since. It's programmed into me. So think about these things. If you're in control of your own life, if you're in control of everything. We hear about these people that heal themselves of crazy diseases and they heal themselves from crazy ailments, and doctors are like, well, we don't know how that happened. Well, because they believed it. How about these people that they go to some kind of a spiritual guru who they claim this person heals them. And meanwhile, you find out 10 years later that the spiritual guru was a lying sack of shit. But it worked. Why did it work? Because the person believed it would work. They had it in their head. This is going to work. And it works. So it's very interesting to me. We're in control. We can do whatever we want. We can have whatever we want. We just have to learn how to flip the thoughts around. We have to learn how to not become victims in the situation. Like my situation with Volkswagen. I am not going to be a victim by this situation. I am not going to get screwed by Volkswagen. One way or another, it's going to work out in my favor. Even if it means I get stuck with this car, well, then I'm going to continue to put out into the universe, well, this car is reliable. This car is reliable. This car is reliable. And I am not going to have trouble with it. I am not going to be a victim but from Volkswagen. I might not never buy a Volkswagen again because I don't like the way I was treated, and I might not ever deal with that dealership again, but I am not going to let this situation wreck my life. Where I feel like years ago I would let almost anything wreck my life. So it's something to think about. You know, just be careful, like which direction you're choosing, because you have a lot more control than you think. Alrighty, I am going to go. And if you like what we're doing here at the Magic Junk Drawer, don't forget to like and subscribe, share us with your friends. If you have any questions, or if there's something that you want help with that's personal and you don't want to like put it in the chat, you can always email me at leomoon2588@gmail.com, and I can change your name and change the circumstance and make a video. You know, this way nobody knows it's you, because I know for myself, I don't want to put myself on blast sometimes. You don't know who's reading it. All right. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.